Yeah, we'll do mentees. Don't worry, Santosh. We'll do mentees. We'll come back to the mentees in some time. But yes, I was talking about a language, right? Now, if you talk about software development, let's say if you want to build a website, if you want to build an app, of course, you can use different languages. One of the famous one is Java, of course, my favorite. But then if you talk about the current scenario, it's not just software development, right? We have different technologies coming up. We have IoT, we got AI. Now, AI is previously AI was done by mathematicians. Now, if you are a mathematician, if you have your degree in mathematics, and now if you want to get into AI, which language you will prefer? Of course, you have your model ready. Now, will you learn a new language like Java, which will take another 2 years to learn? Of course, you're looking for the easiest language, right? And that's where Python comes into picture. So Python is very easy to learn, and we'll see that today. You will see, hey, this is a joke actually. A lot of people who watch my video for the first time, they are like, okay, this is easy. So they get excited, but when they go to the 25th session, 26th session, then they realize, okay, it's not that easy. But yeah, basics are very easy to learn. Okay, now, so that's the easiest language, right? But then we have some more properties to Python, which we'll see in the mentees again. So let's go back to mentees, and the next question is coming up. So let's make this bit fun. It's a quiz for you. So around 100 people joined. Now we can start. So let's start with the first question, everyone. And if this works properly, maybe next time we'll also do some giveaway if you're the winner. We'll start with Amazon gift card of 50 rupees. I'm very poor. Okay, let's go for the first question for you, everyone, on your mobile or computer screen. Big fan of Amitabh Bachchan. So let's go with the first question. So the first question coming up on your screen. In fact, we'll discuss the answer as well. Now, there are so many languages, right? So tell me which of this language came first, which was released publicly first. Okay, is it Java, JavaScript, or Python? Let's see who is giving the right answer. And also, you have to answer very fast. Okay, by the time you answer that, let me give you the year in which Java was released. So Java as a programming language was publicly launched in 1995. And most of you are saying Java. And it might be right? Of course, you got the answer as well on your screen. It's not the right answer. The Python came first. And that's tricky, because Python is getting famous nowadays, and that's why you're thinking, hey, that's a new language, right? Not exactly. Python is very old. The new languages are Go, Dart, what else we have? Rust. These are new languages. All the other languages like Java, Python, they are very old. In fact, Python came in around 1989 when I was born. Oh, I'll just reveal my age. Okay. So Python is the first language which came. Java came in 1995, JavaScript in the same year. And that's why they have the same name. That's weird. Okay, next question. Let's see who will answer this first. Second question. I hope you're all set. Okay, now Python has multiple versions. Let's see the current version. So current version of Python, is it Python 1, 2, 3, or 4? Let's see what you vote for. Let me give you a hint. I have never worked on Python 1. So now you got only 3 options. And let's your answer. And most of you are going for Python 3, and that is correct. Python 4 is not launched yet. Okay, I'm not even sure if Python 4 will be coming up. We'll be having Python 3 for a long time. Python 2 is also there for some projects, but they don't have any support for Python 2. So we will be learning Python 3 in this course. Okay, so most of you are doing well. Let's go for the next question. Third question coming up on your mobile phone or browser, wherever you're using this. Answer fast to get more points. Who is the founder of Python? Now, of course, most of the languages, they have one founder, right? And let's see if you can guess it right. So out of these 4 founders, one of the name is actually fake. I'm not even sure who that person is. You can guess it. Who's that first thing? One of the name is for C++, and let's see what your answers. Okay, most of you are saying Godot 1. How do I pronounce that name? Doesn't matter. It's the second answer, which is right. The fourth one, the Jarny Stroustrup, he's the founder of C++. Nicholas is the founder of Pascal, and Judo is the founder of Python. And the reason why we got this name Python, I know it's very weird, right, to have a language named Python. And the logo itself has a Python logo, right? The reason is Judo used to watch this Monty Circus, and he's a big fan of that series. Next question. Let's see. Now, Python is dash level programming language. Let's see what your answer. Is it high, low, machine? Okay, you are doing very quickly. I can see the number of answers. It's so quick. Awesome. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1, and boom, boom. Great. So most of you, or 91 people, saying high, and that is correct. Now, what do you mean by a level, this level language? See, what happens is what do you do in software development? You build softwares, right? So basically, you are asking your computer to do something which you want. So that means you are instructing to a chip, which is your CPU, to do something. But which language you will communicate with? Is it Hindi, English, Sanskrit? You're not sure, right? So you have to speak in a language which your machine understands, and that is only one language, binary language, zeros and ones. Yeah, that only is applicable for silicon chips. Once you have quantum computers, it will be a different story. But as of now, if you want to talk to your computer, you have to use zeros and ones. Of course, nobody will enjoy that. And that's where we have to use a language which is somewhere between English and machine language. And that's where we have language like assembly, right, which are low-level languages, where you have to actually instruct everything. Even if you want to add two numbers, you have to say add A, B. Now, if you don't want to instruct each and every step, if you want to specify some high-level features, hey, I want to do this, and I'm not sure how computer will execute, but I want to achieve this part. And that's where you basically trying to talk in a language which is similar to English. So all the languages, all the programming languages which are similar to English are called high-level languages, because as a programmer, you're not actually instructing your system what to do. You're just specifying what to do. How to do it will be done by your system with the help of high-level languages. So C, C++, Java, these all are high-level languages. Okay, do we have the leaderboard now? Let's see. Oh, we have a leaderboard. So that's the first round of Menti. And let's see who is doing first. Okay, this is a very tight competition. We got Hari Prakash coming on top. That's great. Second, we got Arvind. We got Varus, Yashwant. That's great. Good job, everyone. We have two more questions, which we'll see after some practical, right? Okay, cool. Now let's start with the implementation. Now, as I mentioned before, Python is a language which is very easy to learn, which is, so the current version of Python which we're using is Python 3. Okay, now what type of softwares we can build using Python? You can guess, right? So you can guess. So we can start with the first step. Can we make GUI applications or maybe desktop application using Python? Answer is yes. Can you build websites using Python? The answer is yes. Can you build a mobile application using Python? The answer is yes. Can you do blockchain using Python? Yes. Can you do AI? It's very famous. In fact, most of the AI people, they work on Python because we have so many libraries in Python. So Python can be used everywhere. Is it recommended to use everywhere? That's a different story. But it is getting used everywhere. So knowing Python will give you a good stretch. You can work on any type of application, right? So currently, Python is getting used a lot in AI and web development. I'm not sure if you have heard about Django framework. If not, we have videos on the Discord channel. You can check out the Django videos as well. Okay, so we have one question. Could you please explain about the silicon chips and quantum processors way of programming? Yes, there are different, once we have quantum computers, we'll be having a different way of writing statements. So I'm just not sure how this programming language will be optimized to work with quantum machines. It's something like, let's say, if you want to print something, and in Java you say system.out.println, or maybe in Python you say print something. Behind the scene, the interpreter of the language should be optimized for the quantum machines. So we are still in that verge of finding it out how we can do it. Okay. Now the next step, how do you start to learn a language? Maybe by opening editor, right? By installing the software. So what we'll do is, the first step would be to install the software. And let's see what software we need. So basically you have to search for Python 3 download, and you have to download the Python software. Now, if you have learned a different language before, like Java, C, C++, they are compiled languages where you have to basically compile the source code. Python is an interpreted language, which means you have to type a code and it will execute line by line, right? So we have to use an interpreter. And for that, you have to download the Python software. Okay, now the current version of Python is 3.10.4, which is 3.10.4. Now the videos which I made on YouTube, it was around 3.7. Is it still relevant? Of course it is. How about after 1 year? I mean, we are just waiting for Python 4. Once we have Python 4, I guess at that point we'll be having some major updates. Till that point, we'll be having minor updates, that's it. Okay, now once you got the software, the next step is you have to install the software, and which is very easy. You know, we all are expert in installing software. What you do, you have to just say next, next, next. I accept, that's very important, and then you have to send next. The only important step for this installation is it will ask you for some, in fact, since we have the setup in my machine, I'm getting a different prompt. But on your machine, you have to say next, next, next. At one point, it will ask you to add the path to the bin folder or add the bin path to the folder. Make sure that you select that checkbox. And once you have it, you got your Python installed. What's the next step? Can you call yourself as a developer now? Not exactly. You just got a software system set up. Now it's time to write some code. Okay, but where you will write a code? Notepad, we can do that. Or we can use IDLE. Now, IDLE is a Python interpreter. You can use this. Or you can actually type Python. It will give you a command prompt of Python, or you can open CMD and say Python. It will give you the same prompt. Ultimately, you have to reach to this window where you can type a code. Now let's go back to the installation of Python. So once you have the Python installed, open your prompt. Now, what's the first thing you can do? Of course, what you do with your computer, right? You have to do some operations, right? The first operation we are going to do here is this. So we'll say, can we add two numbers? Of course we can. So let's try that. If you say 2 plus 2, and when you say enter, you got 4. So basically, that's what you do, right? When you say computer, what does computer means? Computations, right? And the computation is a combination of two things, calculation and logical thinking. So we are not yet there. We are not talked about logical stuff yet, but let's start with the calculation. And calculations are working. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Can we do 4 plus 6? And of course, it will, went wrong there. 4 plus 8, and you can see we got 12. So at least you can add two numbers, and that is working, right? What else we can do? We can add two numbers. We can, let's say, can we do multiplication? And yes, even multiplication works. Okay, so basically we can perform multiplication as well. Now, this is what you have to do, right? Every time you have to use some operators. So if you want to say 4 plus 8, if you want to do multiply something, you have to use multiplication operator. We can also perform subtraction. That's what you have to do on your machine, right? So when you can say 9 minus 4, you got 5. Now, apart from this, we can also do division, right? So let's say if I say 9 divided by 3, of course, you will get a number. Now, the only thing is when you divide the number, which is 9 divided by 3, you got 3.0 because you got, I mean, when you divide something, of course, you will be getting the point values as well. This is what we don't want this, right? So in that case, you can put 2 backslash and enter. It will only give you the main value, not the point values. Okay, so basically we can do division, we can do multiplication, we can do subtraction. What else we can do? What if you want to find the remainder? Let's say if I say 8 divided by 3. Now we know 8 divided by 3 should give you 2, right? But then we want the remainder as well. And the remainder in this case is also 2. Okay, but we got point values. If we don't want point values, we can say / and you can see we don't have point values now. But now we want a remainder, right? In this case, you have to use a different operator, which is percentage sign, and it will give you the remainder. So things are working out. So at least now we know we can perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So these things are working. What else do you want? That's right, we can use mod. Someone is talking about mod. Yes, we can use mod. As a fresher from a mechanical background, which language to start? You have two choices. You can go with JavaScript or Python. Coming back to the screen here, let's start with some more thing. Now, we were able to perform the operations, right? And now let's say, what if you want to print something? You know, whenever you learn a new language, doesn't matter, is it Java, C, C++, the first thing you do is you print hello world. And we should have started with that, but yeah, we started with number. So let's try to print something. Now, this is where the actual programming stuff starts, right? How do you instruct your machine to do something? So we are expecting our CPU to give me something back, right? To give me hello world. So you have to instruct, you have to talk to your computer. Now, in this case, you have to type all the instructions to your computer by saying, hey, this is the keyboard where I'm typing my values. Take these values, go back to do some processing, go back to the monitor and print something. Of course, we don't want to do all those stuffs, right? So what we have is every language has something called inbuilt functions or inbuilt methods. We have to use those functions to do something. Now, one of the inbuilt function we are going to use is print. So what we want to print something, right? And print is an inbuilt function. So let's use that. And every time you say function or method, so it will have a name. So print is a name, and you will also have a round bracket. So you got a round bracket here. Now in this round bracket, in fact, when I say, hey, print, then right, I'm saying print. It is printing. It's just that it is printing blank. What we want is hello world. So in this case, you will say print in bracket, you will mention hello world. As simple as that. And now when I say enter, let's see what you get. So when you say enter, we got bad words. Your Python is giving you some bad words. It's not actually bad words, these are errors. And this is very important in the world of programming. You will get errors, maybe compile time errors or maybe runtime errors, but you will get errors. So this is working, right? So this is not working, you got error. How do you solve this? So first you have to understand what is happening here, why you got the error. So it says invalid syntax. And trust me, one of the most important skill for a software developer is to understand the errors, right? If you can do that, you can solve anything. So it says invalid syntax, perhaps you forgot a comma. Okay, that's not the actual issue. The actual issue, or maybe it says forgot the comma, let's put a comma here and let's see if that works. It's still not working. So let's understand what is going wrong. So the problem is we are trying to print and you're getting error, right? Now what is happening is, see, every time you write something in the interpreter, your interpreter try to convert that stuff into binary code. So it says, hey, print, what is print? So it will check for the library and it will understand, hey, print means something. It is mentioning the library. But when you mention hello world, it will try to convert this string as well. And we don't want that, right? So what we want is we want to instruct to the interpreter, hey, you're working with print, that's great, change it. But don't change this hello world. And if you don't want it to be changed, just mention that in double quotes. So when you mention something in double quotes, it will not try to convert that. And let's say enter, and we got hello world. So just to reiterate, if you want your computer to do something for you, first step is you have to use some functions if it is inbuilt. If not, what if you want to do something and the function is not available? Any guess? You need to create your own functions, right? So here what we have is we are using an inbuilt function. It will have some instructions and you got the it will execute that. And since print says, I will print something on the screen, and if you want to print something as it is without converting it, you have to put that in double quotes. Not just double quotes, you can also use single quote. Most of the Python developers they use single quote, and even that works. Can we do something else? What if you want to print something 5 times? So you can do that actually. Let's try. Let's say I want to print Naveen 5 times. I can say 5. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm saying print Naveen and multiply by 5. So this will be first it will try to convert this, right? This will be Naveen into 5. So it will add Naveen 5 times and then you're saying print. So it will print them as it is. What if you want space? We all are looking for space, right? Okay, anyway, so you got Naveen and then you got spaces as well. What else we can do? So that's how thing works, right? You can use print to print something. Of course, we're trying to build the foundation so that you can do something big. Okay, how to do moving test? We'll try that as well. We can use some graphics libraries to do that. I have done that in C. I'm not sure how do we do that in Python. We can try that. Okay, now come back to the screen here. Okay, so now what we're trying to achieve is we are able to print something. We were able to perform operations, right? Now, when you talk about computer, it's not just about performing operations, right? It's also about saving data. We are living in a world of information, right? The most important task that we do is you have to work with the information, storing the information, processing the information, deleting information. We can't do that on Facebook. You can't delete your own data, but yeah, we want that power, right? We are able to. We should be able to store data. We should be able to process data. We should be able to delete data. How do we work with data? Now, if you want to work with data, you have to store your data somewhere. Example, let's say I have this data called 5. Now, 5 is a value I know, but then imagine this 5 as a data. Where do you store your data? Now, if you want to store something in programming language or maybe in math as well, we use variables, right? Go back to your mathematical world where we used to normally work with X variable, Y variable. I know. Now you remember something, right? So basically, if you want to store a value, you have to use a variable. So we can store that in a variable called maybe num. So num is a variable. Imagine num is a box, and the value you are trying to put there is 5. So num is a box, and you're trying to put a value which is 5. That works, right? And if I say enter, the value is stored, okay? The 5 value is stored in num. How do I know that? We can say num, and you can see we got 5. So things are working out. How about if I want to, can we print num? Yes, we can do that as well. Now, since we are using an IDLE or a Python interpreter, whatever variable you mention, it will give you the output as well. But it will not happen when you try to use big programs, right? So in that case, you have to use num, and you got 5. Cool. Can we change the value? Let's try. Initially, the value of num was 5. And now I'm saying the value is 8. And if I try to print, and you can see we got a new value. So that means we can change the value of a variable. And this is fun. Maybe that's why it says variable, right? The term variable itself says change. That means, yes, if you have a variable, you can change the value of it. And that's what is happening here. It has a twist, which we'll discuss later, but this is working. Can we perform operations on variable? Let's say I want to say num plus 9. Can we do that? Yes. As you can see, the value of num was 8, and now we are saying num plus 9. So 8 plus 9 is 17, and you got the answer. What else we can do here? We can we save this value in some other variable? Let's say we have one more variable, which is x is equal to num. Can we do that? There is no error, and we are not afraid of warnings anyway. We don't have warning, we don't have errors. And let me print the value of x. And you can see we got 8. So that means you can assign a value of one variable to another variable, and that works. Can we only assign numbers? What about strings? Can we attach string? Can we attach a character? What do you mean by strings? Strings are text. So if you want to attach a text, you can do that. Let me do that. So let's say I have a variable which is name. That's my variable name. I know that's weird. And I want to assign a name called Naveen. Can we do that? The answer is yes, we can. And if I say enter, oh, actually we can't. There's an error. It says the error is Naveen is not defined. That's weird. So name is a variable, right? Whenever you write something on the left-hand side, that becomes a variable. So name is a variable. And whatever you mention on the right-hand side, it becomes a value. So this here, Naveen is a value. And I have mentioned that before. Whenever you use something, from where it will try to fetch the value, it will give you error. Remember, hello world? So if you have a string, always mention your string in quotes, double quote, single quote, both works. And you can see this time we don't have any error. Let me print name. That works. And you can see we got Naveen. So basically, yes, you can store a number, you can store a string, you can store integers, you can store float values as well. Basically, you can store everything you want. Can I add two names? Example, let's say I will say one more name here, name 1, and I will assign the name as Kiran. Hello. And I will try to print name 1 as well. And you can see we got Kiran here. Now the question is, can we add two names? Let's try. So I will say name plus name 1. And you can see we got Naveen Kiran. I guess the space is not there. So let's put a space in between. That looks weird. And we got error. How can you put a space in between? So the problem is, the space which is I have mentioned here is a space for me, not for programming. If you want to mention a space which is a character, which is also a string, you have to put that here in single quote and say enter, and it works now, right? So you can put space, you can perform the operation. Any question to this point so that I can just take it out? Data we can store, yes. So if you want to store data, we use variables. But yes, the data which you're trying to save there is not permanent. The moment you close the application, you will lose data. So if you want to store your data permanently, that's why we use databases. Going back to the screen share. Now let's say if I have a string. So let me just go with a string here. I will say name itself. And let me give a new string. Let me give a string like Naveen. Maybe I will use Telescope in this case. Okay, so when I say name is equal to Telescope, and I don't want the entire string. So this Telescope is a string here, right? What if I don't want the entire string? What I want is one value. Maybe I want T, maybe I want E. So in this case, I can do that. I can say name, and you have to put, because if you just say name, or maybe I will just try print, because now we are more familiar with print function, right? And you can see we got Telescope. But if you don't want the entire string, you just want one character. Let's say I want T, so you have to say 0. Why not 1? Because the numbering, see, for every character here, we have a number. For T, we have 0. For E, we have 1. L, we have 2. So the numbering starts with 0 in programming. And when you say enter, you got T. And when you say 2, you can see we got L. That's how it goes. And when you say 5, you will get K. Okay, it has 7 characters. When I say 6, you got O. Things are working to this point. What if I say 8? Okay, let me in the chat window. What do you think? If I say 8, what you will get? Enter, and you got an error. The error says string index out of bound. So basically, we're trying to do something which is out of bound. So basically, we can perform this operation on string. Maybe what if you want to go for a range? I want to print from. I want to print the first 4 characters. So you have to say 0, and you will say colon 4, and you can see we got first 4 characters. So from where you want to start and how many characters you want. So 0, I want to start from 0. I want 4 characters. You have to use colon there. How about we try to use this length function? If I want to know the length of my string, I can also use length function. I can say name, enter, and you can see we got 7. Length is 7. In fact, I have almost the same video on YouTube, and people do get confused there. So example, the name is Naveen Reddy. And if I try to perform the length function on this, what will be the value? So let me know in the chat. Okay, most of you are saying 11. Ashutosh says 5. Might be, I'm not sure. Okay, let's try. So when you say print length name, it will give you 11. Why not 10? Why not 5? Most of them are expecting 10 because my name has 10 characters, but you forgot the space in between. The space itself is a character, right? And we have to make sure that we have to remember that. Cool. So basically, we can use length function. We can do these things. Okay. What else we can do is, what if you have not one number, you have multiple numbers? So now we know, right? If you have one number, you can say num equal to 9. What if you have 5 values? So in this case, you can give a variable name as nums. It's not compulsory to have a plural name, but just to make it sense. So what if you have 9, 6, 7, 2, 1? Let's say you have 5 numbers. Can you assign 5 numbers to one variable? Okay, it is accepting it. If I say nums, and it got the value. But can you perform operation with this? So the ideal way of doing this, if you have 5 values, you have to use certain type of values. So if you have a collection of values, you can use list, you can use tuple, you can use set. So let's start with the list. So when we use square bracket, it is a list of values. So again, the same values, 9, 6, 7, 2, 1. So you can see we got 5 values when you say enter. Okay, this time also I can say nums, and you got the values, and you can see we got square bracket this time. Now using the square bracket, of course, you can fetch one value out of it. I can say nums of 1, it will give you 6. Why 6? Because the numbering starts with 0. Oh, sorry, my bad, everyone. I was not checking the screen. Something went wrong there. Oh, the problem is if I press 1, okay, just remind me I will not use 1 as a number because my OBS is set in a scene where if I press 1 it will change the scene. Okay, bad combinations. Anyway, I'm sharing my screen now. So what we have done till now is we are creating a variable with multiple values. And you can see we got 5 values here. And when you say nums, it will print those 5 values. And when you say nums of 1, you got 6. Okay, what next? Can I use a different value? How about 6? And you got error because it is out of range, right? Cool. Okay, clear is not working. Clear is not working. We'll try to find a solution for that. Okay, how about this? If I try to print nums, and if I just mention starting point, let's say I will mention 0. So of course you got 9. But if you want all the values, you can also do this. You can say 0, colon, and you don't mention the end point. I mean, if you say end 2, it will print first 2 numbers. But if you don't mention the end, it will print all the numbers. Right? This is one way of printing all the values. Maybe you want to start from third value or the fourth value. So index number 3 is fourth value. And it will print all the values from fourth and fifth. And you can see we got 2 and 1. Cool. Even this is working. Apart from this, we can also work with string list. So we can say names is equal to, and we can put up some names here. I can say Naveen. I can say Sarkesh. I always mess with his name. I don't know why. Done, and you can see we got a list, and you can print this list as well. As names. So basically, we can create a list of string. We can get a list of numbers. Now, this type of data is actually very important because most of the softwares, we don't store one value, right? We store multiple values. So it can be list, it can be, we have not talked about set and tuple yet. We'll talk about that in the next session. But yeah, at this point, we were able to work with list and we were able to save multiple values. Cool, this is working. So the question coming up on the screen. Okay, so you have a list of values here and nums, so we're trying to fetch the nums of -5. Let's see what you're answering. 3 seconds more. And time up. I know this is a weird question to go for because we have not talked about this, right? We have talked about 0. We have talked about, I'm just checking if I'm sharing this right screen. Okay, so yeah, we have talked about positive values, right? We have not talked about a negative value, and that was intentional. So let's try to understand why 12 is the right answer. Okay, so what we'll do for that is we'll use the scribble. Okay, so basically whenever you work with list, what happens? So you have a list of values. So basically you have a list of values here. So you can see we have a list of values, and this is your first value. So the values, what are the values we have? We have 12, and whatever values you have, let's say 8, 13, 6, 5. So whenever you have these values, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to print. So let's say this is nums. So this will have index values, right? So index values, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. These are the index values, right? What we are doing there is we are trying to print negative values. Now, how negative value will print 12? So basically every list, so this is a list of values. So this is a list of values, right? So when you say nums of 0, it will print 12. When you say nums of 1, it will print 8. But when you say negative values, it also have a negative value. So in that case, this is -5, this is -4, this is -3, this is -2, this is -1, right? And that's how it works. So if you say positive value, it goes from left to right. Negative value also goes from left to right, but in a negative range. Right, so and you start with -5, the length, and it will end at -1. So yeah, it will print 12. That's what I meant. That was the reason why we have this question. Okay, there's a question from Shrishti, and the question is, what do you mean by string? So when you have multiple characters together, that's a string. So NAVIN, that's a string. Is it legal? Yeah, it is working, right? So it is working, so it is legal. Yeah, so in negative string, it will not start with 0 because 0 is starting from the positive string, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3. So negative string adds at -1.